Welcome to the Echoes of Ihsan podcast, where we delve deep into fascinating topics from the Islamic tradition. Today, we're opening up Sunan Abu Dawud, specifically Hadith Book 3, which focuses on zakat.
Zakat, as you likely know, is one of the five pillars of Islam, and it's far more than just giving. It's a sophisticated system designed to create a just and balanced society.
Exactly. It's not just throwing money at a problem; it's deeply interwoven with Islamic values.
hmm
So, for someone coming to this fresh, what's the core idea behind zakat? What makes it so central to the faith?
At its heart, zakat is about recognizing that all wealth ultimately belongs to God. We're merely caretakers of what we've been given,
Hmm.
and with that comes a responsibility to share with those less fortunate.
Right. It's that concept of wealth being a trust, not just something you possess outright.
Exactly. And by giving a portion of our wealth as zakat, we purify what remains and acknowledge that true abundance comes from God's blessings.
So it's almost like a spiritual cleansing as well as a material act of giving.
Precisely. And this act of purification is incredibly important in Islam.
Yeah.
It's not just about doing good deeds, it's about constantly refining our intentions and actions to align with God's will.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
So we've got this idea of purification and sharing,
Yeah.
but how does it work in practice? I mean, is it just a free for all? Does everyone just give whatever they feel like?
Not at all. The zakat is a very structured system with specific rules and guidelines outlined in the hadith. For example, Hadith 1554 tells us that there's no zakat due on grain or dates unless you possess at least 5 camel loads.
5 camel loads of dates? Wow, that's a lot of dates.
It paints a vivid picture, doesn't it? And it's interesting to consider why they chose that specific threshold.
I'm guessing it has something to do with ensuring that the zakat isn't a burden on those who are struggling to provide for themselves.
Absolutely. The concept of nisab, which is the minimum amount of wealth one must possess before zakat becomes obligatory, ensures that the system is fair and doesn't place undue hardship on those who are just getting by.
Okay, nisab, got it. So if you have less than 5 camel loads of dates, you're off the hook, so to speak.
Yes. And and the same principle applies to other forms of wealth as well. Each type of asset has its own specific nisab, ensuring that zakat is proportional to one's wealth.
So it's not like a flat tax rate that everyone pays. It's more tailored to individual circumstances.
Exactly. And this tailoring is evident throughout the zakat system. For instance, Hadith 1563 provides a fascinating breakdown of zakat on livestock.
Livestock, okay. I'm already picturing shepherds counting sheep and trying to figure out their zakat.
Well, it's a bit more complex than that. The Hadith outlines specific guidelines for the number of goats due based on the number of camels owned.
So the more camels you have, the more goats you contribute as zakat.
Precisely. And it's not just a simple one-to-one ratio either. There are different brackets, so to speak, depending on the size of your herd.
So it's like an ancient version of a progressive tax system, where those with more wealth contribute a slightly higher proportion.
That's a great analogy. And the system wasn't just about arbitrary numbers either. It was designed to ensure fairness and prevent people from being overburdened.
What do you mean?
Well, for instance, Hadith 1574 emphasizes the importance of choosing average animals for zakat, not the best or worst of the flock.
So you couldn't just offload your scrawny old camel and call it a day.
Exactly. It's about giving what is considered fair and reasonable, not trying to game the system or take advantage of the spirit of zakat.
I love how these hadiths really get into the nitty-gritty details and ethical considerations of giving. It
Yeah.
shows how much emphasis was placed on doing things the right way.
Absolutely. And this attention to detail is also evident when it comes to collecting zakat.
Oh, right. There has to be a whole system for that too, doesn't there?
Yes, and Hadith 1563 gives us a glimpse into this early system by mentioning a letter about zakat that the Prophet Muhammad had written but never sent.
Why was it never sent?
The prophet passed away before he could send it out to his governors, but the letter was kept with his sword, signifying its importance, and it was later acted upon by Abu Bakr and then Umar.
Wow, that's incredible. So it's almost like a lost scroll, a hidden piece of wisdom that was rediscovered and implemented.
Exactly, and this letter didn't just cover calculations; it also addressed practical considerations to ensure the smooth functioning of the system.
Like what? What kind of practical considerations?
Well, for instance, it stated that those animals belonging to different flocks shouldn't be brought together just for the sake of zakat.
So no herding your neighbor's camels into your own just to hit a higher zakat bracket.
Precisely. It's about being practical and considerate, not creating unnecessary burdens or disruptions in the process.
This is all starting to make a lot of sense. But so far, we've mainly focused on livestock and dates. What about other forms of wealth? Things like gold, silver, or even merchandise?
Excellent question. Hadith 1568 introduces us to the concept of zakat on gold and silver, highlighting a fascinating detail. It mentions that a lunar year must pass before the obligation arises.
A lunar year. So it's not just based on the Gregorian calendar we use today.
Exactly. The Islamic lunar calendar plays a significant role in determining the timing of zakat.
Okay, that makes sense. So you wouldn't calculate your zakat based on January 1st. It
Pre-
would be based on the Islamic lunar year.
Precisely. And the hadith also provides specific calculations for the amount of zakat due on gold and silver, ensuring proportionality based on the value of these precious metals.
So if gold goes up in value, your zakat contribution would increase as well.
That's right. The system is designed to adapt to fluctuations in value, ensuring that it remains relevant and equitable.
And what about merchandise? I mean, back then, trade was a huge part of life.
Absolutely. And Hadith 1557 explicitly states that zakat is due even on goods intended for trade, regardless of whether they've been sold yet.
So even if your caravan is still on its way to market, you're still obligated to pay zakat on those goods.
Precisely. It's about recognizing that the potential for wealth, the intention to generate income, is what triggers the obligation of zakat.
This is fascinating. It's like they really thought through every possible scenario and created a system that was both comprehensive and fair.
And this comprehensiveness wasn't just limited to material possessions. Zakat also has a very human side, a deep concern for the well-being of individuals.
What do you mean? How does that human element come into play?
Well, let's consider Hadith 1558, which tells the story of a woman who came to the Prophet Muhammad with gold bangles.
Gold bangles, okay. What's the story there?
The Prophet gently guided her, explaining that if she didn't pay zakat on those bangles, they could become bangles of fire in the afterlife.
Wow, that's a powerful image. It's not just about fulfilling an obligation, it's about the potential consequences of neglecting it.
Exactly. And what's so striking about this hadith is the Prophet's approach. He doesn't condemn or shame the woman. He uses a powerful analogy to highlight the importance of zakat.
So it's not about fear-mongering, it's about raising awareness and encouraging people to fulfill their obligations out of sincere understanding.
Precisely. And this focus on understanding is further emphasized in Hadith 1559, where Salama, one of the Prophet's wives, asks a question about her own gold ornaments.
What did she ask?
She was concerned about whether her ornaments were considered a treasure or kans in the negative sense, meaning something that could lead to hoarding and attachment.
I see. She was worried that her possessions might be spiritually detrimental.
Exactly. And the Prophet reassured her, explaining that once zakat is paid on wealth, it is no longer considered a treasure in that negative sense.
So by fulfilling her zakat obligations, she was purifying her wealth and her intentions.
Precisely. It's like a spiritual reset button, a way to ensure that our possessions don't become a source of attachment or greed.
This is also fascinating. It's amazing how much depth and nuance there is to zakat. It's not just a simple transaction. It's a multifaceted system that encompasses material, ethical, and spiritual dimensions.
Absolutely. And as we delve deeper into the system, you'll discover even more intricate details and profound insights that reveal the wisdom and compassion behind this pillar of Islam.
I'm eager to keep exploring. So where do we go from here? What other aspects of zakat should we be looking into?
Well, now that we have a basic understanding of the principles and mechanisms, I think it's time to start looking at who actually benefits from zakat. Who are the recipients of this collected wealth, and how does the system ensure that it reaches those who need it most?
That's a great question. I'm ready to dive into that. But I think we'll save that exploration for our next part.
Sounds like a plan. We'll pick up right where we left off and uncover the fascinating world of zakat recipients.
All right, listeners, stay tuned for part 2, where we'll continue our deep dive into the heart of zakat.
Looking forward to it. Welcome back to Echoes of Ihsan. We've laid some fascinating groundwork about zakat, but now it's time to look at the other side of the equation. Where does this wealth actually go?
Right, because it's not just about giving for giving's sake. There's a clear purpose, a social safety net built into the system.
Exactly. And that's where the concept of of Zakat recipients comes in.
Okay, so who are these recipients? Is there a specific list, or is it more open-ended?
Luckily for us, the Hadith provides some very clear guidance on this. Hadith 1626 specifically outlines 8 categories of people who are eligible to receive zakat.
8 categories. Wow, that suggests a pretty comprehensive approach to addressing need.
It really does, and it highlights how zakat is meant to be a targeted system, ensuring that resources are directed to those who truly need them.
So it's not just about randomly giving to anyone who asks. It's about identifying specific groups who are most vulnerable.
Exactly, and those 8 categories are really fascinating when you look at them closely.
Well, don't keep me in suspense. Break it down for me. Who makes the list?
First and foremost, you have the poor, those individuals and families who are struggling to meet their basic needs.
That's a natural starting point, I'd say, making sure people have food, shelter, clothing, the essentials.
Absolutely. It's about addressing the most fundamental forms of poverty and preventing hardship.
And then right alongside that, we have the needy. Is that just another word for poor, or is there a distinction?
It's a nuanced distinction, but an important one. The needy refers to those who might not be in absolute poverty but are still facing difficult circumstances.
So they might have some income, but not enough to cover unexpected expenses, medical bills, things like that.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that hardship can take many forms, and that zakat is meant to provide a safety net for those who are struggling to stay afloat.
That's really thoughtful. It's not just about pulling people out of destitution. It's about preventing them from falling into it in the first place.
And that preventative aspect is crucial. Zakat isn't just about reacting to existing problems. It's about fostering a society where people are supported and empowered to thrive.
Okay. So we've got the poor and the needy. What's the next category on the list?
Next, we have those employed to collect zakat.
Wait, so the people who administer the system are also entitled to receive zakat.
That's right. It highlights the importance of having a dedicated and trustworthy workforce
Huh?
to manage the collection and distribution of funds.
It makes sense. You need a system in place to ensure that everything runs smoothly and that the funds are handled responsibly.
Exactly, and this category recognizes that those involved in this important work deserve to be compensated for their time and effort.
It's like acknowledging that administering a complex system like this is a job in itself.
Precisely, and it also helps to prevent corruption or abuse by ensuring that those handling the funds aren't tempted to take more than their fair share.
Okay, so we've got the poor, the needy, and the zakat administrators. What's next?
The fourth category is those whose hearts are to be reconciled to Islam.
Okay, that one's a bit more abstract. What does it mean to reconcile someone's heart to Islam?
It's a beautiful concept that encompasses several ideas. It could refer to new converts who are just entering the faith and need support as they navigate their new spiritual journey.
So it's about providing them with resources and guidance as they learn about Islam.
Exactly, and it could also refer to individuals or communities who might be on the fence about Islam, those who need a little nudge or encouragement to embrace the faith.
So it's about using zakat to promote understanding and bridge divides.
Precisely. And it could also refer to those who might have strayed from the path of Islam and need help to return.
So it's about offering a hand up, a path back to spiritual well-being.
Exactly. This category highlights the importance of compassion, understanding, and outreach, recognizing that not everyone's journey to faith is straightforward.
Okay, that's a really powerful idea. So we've got 4 categories down, 4 to go. What's next?
The fifth category is for freeing captives or slaves.
Wow, that's really impactful. It speaks to a very specific historical context.
It does, and it highlights the Islamic emphasis on freedom and the importance of alleviating oppression.
So zakat was seen as a tool for social justice, a way to liberate those who are unjustly enslaved.
Exactly, and while slavery might not be as prevalent today, this category can still be interpreted in a modern context.
How so?
Well, it could be applied to situations where individuals are being trafficked or exploited, where their basic human rights are being violated.
So it's about using zakat to support organizations that fight against against modern forms of slavery and oppression.
Exactly. It's about upholding the principle of freedom and ensuring that everyone has the opportunity to live a life of dignity and respect.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've got 5 down, 3 to go. What's next?
The sixth category is for those in debt.
Ah, that's a very relatable one, I'd say. Debt is a burden that many people face.
Absolutely. And Zakat recognizes that that debt can be a major source of hardship and instability.
So it's about providing relief to those who are struggling to repay their debts.
Exactly. And this could include individuals, families, or even entire communities that are facing financial burdens.
It's about offering a lifeline, a chance to get back on their feet.
And this category also highlights the importance of financial responsibility and the potential consequences of excessive debt.
It's a reminder to live within our means and to seek help when we need it.
Okay, two more categories to go. What's next? The seventh category is for those fighting in the cause of Allah.
Okay, that one's a bit more open to interpretation, I'd say. What does it mean to fight in the cause of Allah?
Traditionally, it would have referred to those who were engaged in physical battles to defend the Muslim community.
So soldiers, warriors, those protecting the faith.
Exactly. But in a modern context, this category can be interpreted more broadly.
How so? What kind of modern battles are we fighting?
Well, it could refer to those who are working to promote peace, justice, and human rights.
So activists, peacemakers, those fighting for a more just and compassionate world.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that the struggle for good is ongoing, and that those who are on the front lines of this struggle deserve our support.
It's about standing up for what's right, even when it's difficult or dangerous.
And this category reminds us that our obligations extend beyond our immediate communities. We have a responsibility to care for the well-being of all humanity.
Okay, that's really powerful. So we got one category left. Who makes the final cut?
The eighth and final category is the wayfarer, which refers to travelers who are stranded and in need of assistance.
Ah, the traveler. A timeless archetype, I'd say.
Absolutely. And this category highlights the importance of hospitality and caring for strangers.
So if you encounter someone who's far from home and in need of help, offering them food, shelter, or guidance would be considered a form of zakat.
Exactly. It's about recognizing the vulnerability of those who are away from their familiar surroundings and extending a helping hand.
And this concept of the wayfarer can also be interpreted in a modern context.
How so? Who are the modern day wayfarers?
Well, it could refer to refugees, migrants, or displaced persons who are forced to leave their homes and seek refuge elsewhere.
That's a great point. These individuals are often facing immense hardship and uncertainty, and they rely on the kindness of strangers to survive.
So offering them support, whether it's financial assistance, legal aid, or simply a welcoming smile, would be
Right.
a way to fulfill our zakat obligations.
Exactly. It's about recognizing their shared humanity and extending compassion to those who are most vulnerable.
Wow. These 8 categories really paint a vivid picture of the scope and purpose of zakat.
They do, and they highlight how this system was designed to address a wide range of needs and create a society where everyone has the opportunity to thrive.
It's amazing how these teachings from centuries ago can still be so relevant and applicable to the challenges we face today.
The principles are timeless. It's about recognizing our interconnectedness and the responsibility we have to care for one another.
But I'm curious, are there any situations where someone might fall outside these 8 categories but still be deserving of zakat?
That's a great question, and it shows you're really thinking critically about how this system works. And the answer is yes, there are a few exceptions outlined in Hadith 1631.
Okay, I'm all ears. What are these exceptions?
One exception is for someone who buys zakat with their own money. This might seem counterintuitive, but it refers to situations where someone might purchase items that were originally given as zakat.
So they're essentially recirculating the zakat funds.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It allows for some flexibility and recognizes that sometimes the most effective way to help someone is to provide them with the resources to acquire what they need.
Okay, that makes sense. What's another exception?
Another exception is for a poor neighbor who has received zakat and then gives a present to a wealthier person.
So it's acknowledging the importance of reciprocity and social harmony.
Exactly. It prevents zakat from creating a rigid divide between givers and receivers.
It's about maintaining those social connections and recognizing that everyone has something to offer.
And finally, there's an exception for situations where it's deemed necessary to give zakat to someone outside the traditional categories to protect the Muslim community.
So if there's an imminent threat or a situation where the well-being of the community is at stake, zakat funds could be used to address that crisis.
Exactly. It highlights the flexibility and adaptability of the system, recognizing that sometimes extraordinary circumstances require extraordinary measures.
These exceptions are really fascinating. They show how the system was designed to be both structured and adaptable.
Precisely. It's about upholding the spirit of zakat, which is to alleviate hardship and promote well-being while also recognizing the complexities of real-life situations.
Okay, so we've got a pretty good grasp on who the recipients of zakat are.
Mm.
But how does the system actually ensure that these funds reach those who need them most? I mean, was there like a zakat distribution network back then?
That's a great question, and it leads us to another fascinating aspect of zakat. In the early days of Islam, the collection and distribution of zakat was often overseen by designated officials.
So like a government agency for zakat.
You could think of it that way. These officials would assess the needs of the community, identify those who were eligible to receive zakat, and then distribute the funds accordingly.
So they played a crucial role in ensuring that zakat reached those who needed it most.
Exactly, and the system was designed to be both efficient and accountable.
But what about individuals who might be too proud to ask for help or whose needs might not be immediately apparent? How did the system address those situations?
That's a really important point, and it highlights the fact that zakat isn't just about waiting for people to come forward and ask for help.
It's about being proactive and seeking out those who might be struggling in silence.
Exactly. Hadith 1628 emphasizes this point by highlighting the poor man who abstains from begging.
So it's about recognizing that not everyone who needs help is going to be vocal about it.
And it places a responsibility on the community, especially those involved in administering zakat, to be mindful of those whose needs might be hidden.
So it's about creating a culture of compassion and awareness, where we're looking out for one another and offering support, even when it's not explicitly requested.
Exactly. It's about creating a safety net that catches those who might otherwise slip through the cracks.
This is all so inspiring. It's amazing how much thought and care went into designing this system.
And it's a testament to the Islamic emphasis on social justice and the well-being of the community.
But I'm curious, with all this talk about who deserves zakat and who doesn't, are there any instances where giving zakat is explicitly prohibited?
That's a great question, and it shows you're really grappling with the ethical dimensions of zakat. And the answer is yes. There are certain individuals and groups to whom giving zakat is considered inappropriate.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Who makes that list?
Hadiths 1629 and 1630 specifically state that zakat should not be given to the wealthy or to those who are capable of earning a living.
So it's about ensuring that zakat funds are directed to those who genuinely need them.
Exactly. Giving zakat to someone who's already financially well off would defeat the purpose of the system.
It would be like giving a life preserver to someone who's already standing on dry land.
That's a great analogy. Zakat is meant to be a lifeline for those who are struggling, not a bonus for those who are already thriving.
This is all starting to make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, we've talked a lot about the technicalities of zakat, the calculations, the categories, the exceptions. But what about the spirit of zakat, the heart and intention behind the act of giving?
That's a crucial aspect that we shouldn't overlook. Zakat is not just about fulfilling an obligation. It's about cultivating a spirit of generosity and compassion.
So it's about more than just writing a check or donating online. It's about transforming our hearts and minds.
Exactly. It's about developing a consciousness of abundance, recognizing that all we have is a gift from God.
And that this gift comes with a responsibility to share it with others.
Absolutely. Zakat is a reminder that our wealth is not truly ours to hoard. It's a trust that we're entrusted with to use for the benefit of ourselves and others.
And by fulfilling this trust, we not only purify our wealth, but also purify our souls.
It's a beautiful cycle of giving and receiving. By giving freely, we open ourselves up to receive even more blessings from God.
And these blessings aren't just material. They encompass spiritual growth, inner peace, and a sense of connection to something greater than ourselves.
Zakat cultivates a spirit of gratitude and humility. It reminds us that we're not self-made. We're dependent on God's mercy and provision.
And this awareness fosters a sense of interconnectedness and responsibility towards others.
It breaks down the barriers of ego and greed. It reminds us that we're all part of one human family.
So zakat is not just a financial obligation. It's a spiritual practice that transforms us from within,
Mhm.
cultivating compassion, gratitude, and a deep sense of connection to God and humanity.
It's a journey of self-discovery and spiritual growth, a path towards a more meaningful and fulfilling life.
And this journey is not just for individual. It's a collective endeavor, a shared commitment to building a world where everyone has the opportunity to thrive.
Zakat is a call to action, an invitation to participate in creating a more just and compassionate world.
As we delve deeper into the personal and spiritual dimensions of zakat, I'm excited to explore the transformative potential of this practice in our lives and in the world around us.
I agree. The journey of zakat is a journey of the heart, a path towards a more beautiful and harmonious world.
Welcome back to Echoes of Ihsan. Exploring zakat like this, it really highlights the interconnectedness of things. We've gone from camel loads to spiritual purification to the nitty-gritty of who benefits.
It's a tapestry, isn't it? Each thread of zakat woven into a larger picture of social well-being and individual growth.
Exactly, and I think one thread we haven't fully pulled on yet is the concept of ihsan, that excellence in action, which seems so central to Islamic teachings.
You're bringing up a beautiful point. Ihsan, often translated as perfection, it goes beyond just doing things right. It's about imbuing our actions with sincerity, a deep awareness of God's presence.
So how does that translate to something like zakat, which has specific rules to follow?
It starts with the intention behind our giving. Imagine two people both paying their due zakat. One does it begrudgingly, the other with a joyful heart, eager to help.
The outward act is the same, but the inner state, the ihsan, is worlds apart.
Exactly. And this reverberates outward. Someone with Ihsan wouldn't just give the bare minimum. They'd seek to give the best of what they have, what's truly beneficial.
Like in those hadiths about choosing the best livestock for zakat, not just offloading the unwanted.
Precisely. It's about generosity of spirit, recognizing that even in fulfilling an obligation, we can strive for excellence.
And this goes beyond the giving itself, right? It's about how we treat those receiving zakat.
Absolutely. Someone embodying Ihsan wouldn't just hand over money and be done. They'd do so with kindness, respecting the dignity of those in need.
So it's about acknowledging the humanity of the recipient, not just seeing them as a charity case.
Exactly. And Ihsan takes it even further. It encourages us to view zakat not just as a transaction, but as a chance to build community, to foster a spirit of mutual support.
So it becomes a catalyst for positive change, not just a financial obligation ticked off a list.
Precisely. The impact ripples outward. Tangibly, zakat funds provide essential services, but intangibly, it nurtures empathy and a sense of interconnectedness.
This is where it gets really interesting, I think, because if sasan is about going above and beyond, does that suggest we can do more than just the obligatory zakat?
Absolutely. While zakat is a pillar of Islam, a
Yeah.
duty, there's a whole realm of voluntary giving called sadaqah, which is all about cultivating generosity as a way of life.
So even if someone isn't wealthy enough to owe zakat, they could still practice this spirit of giving.
Exactly. Hadith 1653 is beautiful in this regard. It says that even lending everyday items like a bucket or cooking pot can be considered mu'un, an act of kindness, a form of sadaqah.
Wow, that really expands the definition of giving. It's not just about money. It's about those small acts of service that make life a little easier for others.
Precisely. And the beauty of sadaqah is that it doesn't require grand gestures. It's about integrating generosity into the fabric of our daily lives.
So a smile, a helping hand, a kind word, these all become acts of giving.
Exactly. And the impact of these seemingly small acts can be profound, both for the giver and the receiver.
I'm reminded of that hadith, 1637, about the Ansari man who came to the Prophet asking for help.
Mm.
Instead of just giving him money, the Prophet gave him tools and guidance to earn a living.
That's a classic example of sadaqah in action, empowering someone rather than just providing temporary relief.
And the man flourished, right? He went from begging to earning a decent living, all because of that initial act of generosity.
Exactly. It highlights how giving can be transformative, not just for the recipient, but
Mhm.
also for the giver. It fosters a sense of purpose, connection, and fulfillment.
I'm also thinking about Hadith 1645, which contrasts the hands of Allah, the giver, and the beggar.
Such a profound image. It reminds us that everything originates from God, the ultimate source of abundance.
And we become conduits of that abundance when we choose to give.
Exactly. It shifts our perspective from scarcity to generosity, recognizing that the more we give, the more we open our souls up to receive.
And that receiving isn't just about material wealth. It's about the spiritual blessings, the inner peace, the sense of connection that comes from aligning ourselves with a higher purpose.
Beautifully put. And this alignment is key. Hadith 1641 encourages us to refer our poverty to Allah.
Not just seeking immediate solutions, but
Mm.
trusting in God's plan and provision.
Exactly. It cultivates a deep sense of faith and surrender, recognizing that true abundance comes from a place of spiritual connection.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into zakat, I'm left with a sense of awe at the sheer brilliance of this system. It's so much more than just a financial obligation.
It's a blueprint for building a just and compassionate society, a framework for cultivating individual growth, and a path towards a deeper connection with the divine.
It's a reminder that giving is not about depleting our resources, but about expanding our hearts and connecting to the boundless abundance of the universe.
And that generosity, whether through zakat or sadaqah, is not just a duty, but a privilege, a way
Yeah.
to participate in the divine flow of giving and receiving.
Thank you for joining us on this journey into the heart of zakat.
Mhm.
May this deep dive inspire us to live with greater compassion, generosity, and excellence in all that we do.
And may peace be upon you.
Wa alaikum assalam.
When